Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 3695BN. Today's date is July 27th, 2025, and the title of the episode is Bongino Shocked to His Core. Those who know will not rest until there's accountability. Let's talk about our health. We've partnered with Gundry MD to share this information with you. Would you believe me if I told you inside your pantry right now is one of the healthiest foods on the planet? Yep, it's true. And it's not some weird trendy superfood. Spoiler alert, it's olive oil. You're probably used to cooking with it, but there are countless ways to use olive oil to help yourself look and feel younger. For example, olive oil is a natural way to help you achieve a more youthful appearance. Besides helping you look younger on the outside, it's a fantastic tool for your insides as well. According to Dr. Stephen Gundry, a famous cardiothoracic surgeon, nutrition expert, and health advocate, you should get as much high-quality olive oil into your daily routine as possible, whether it's taking a shot of it daily or keeping a bottle of it in your bathroom medicine cabinet. But what kind of olive oil is best for your health? Well, any olive oil can give you some benefits, but if you're looking to get the best results, it matters a lot which one you pick. The olive oil industry is huge. You can tell by the number of olive oil brands you see at the grocery store, and you can bet they're not all made with the consumer in mind, and many brands may even cut corners one way or another to increase profits. When Dr. Gundry came to this realization, he was appalled, but some olive oils are so powerful, it may only take a few tablespoons a week to see these incredible health benefits. So how can you tell between an olive oil that can be a health booster and which one isn't up to par? In an effort to answer that question, Dr. Gundry decided to take a stand and release his personal research and findings. This video has gone viral since its release, and it's important you see it so you can start benefiting immediately. You can watch the video right now by going to getolive1.com/x22 or by clicking the link in the description box below. That's getolive1.com/x22 or just click the link in the description box below. People have taken his advice, have shared their results with him, saying the olive oil they bought after learning his simple rules has helped change their lives. Make sure you go to getolive1.com/x22 or click the link in the description box below this video. Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, the deep state, the corrupt politicians, big tech, fake news, the puppet masters, they are continually trying to spin the Russia hoax. And what they're doing is they're just lying to cover up the lies that they already told. And what Trump and the Patriots are going to do is they're going to release additional facts over and over and over, trapping them in their lies, which actually proves that they're guilty. That is exactly what we are seeing play out. And yes, everything is connected. Russia collusion is connected to Epstein. Russia collusion is connected to the overthrow of the United States government in 2020. Russia collusion is connected to when Obama first came into office. Russia collusion is connected to everything. Because it's the same people, it's the same pattern. And actually, if you go back in time, like we mentioned just yesterday, when you go back in time, you could see that the JFK files, the RFK files, the MLK files, yes, that was the beginning of the deep state players. Now, I'm not saying it wasn't corrupt before, but this is when everything was formed. This is when they went full speed ahead, and it got worse and worse as time went on, and actually just coincides with the country coming off the gold standard, going full fiat so they can fund their entire operation. Remember, this is a criminal system that we are witnessing right now. The criminal system needs revenue. Revenue comes from the Federal Reserve. This is how they pay for a lot of their agendas. The Federal Reserve, they create a program, they borrow the money, they launder the money, it goes to different agencies, to NGOs, you name it, kickbacks, you name it. But there's also other sources of funding. The illegals that they bring in, human trafficking, drug trafficking, all of this is revenue to them. Because you have to remember, this is one gigantic criminal syndicate. And now it's being exposed to the people. And you have to remember, the FBI, the CIA, DHS, and the rest, those agencies, they were not working for we the people. Those agencies were put into place to protect the criminal syndicate. And once you understand that they were there to protect the criminal syndicate and to push terrorism, to push wars, to actually create the idea that the people are the problem, then you understand what we're up against. And it seems that Bongino, it seems that he's starting to realize that, yes, that we have a major, major problem in this country. And it's not just a very small problem. It's a major, major problem because the entire country was run by a criminal syndicate. And those who know have a very difficult time sleeping. Those who know, they're not going to rest until there's accountability. Because once you see it, you cannot unsee it. And I think a lot of people, especially in this country, they believe that everyone will do the right thing. Everyone has a good set of morals. And when they look at the FBI, they look at the CIA, they look at the DHS, yes, they believe there's a little bit of corruption. They believe that, yes, all right, I know there's a little bit of corruption. I don't think people really understand that these agencies, it wasn't just corruption. These agencies were working against the American people. The agencies were working within the criminal syndicate. And everything that we've known has been one gigantic lie. I mean, when they tell everyone that Trump is telling the big lie about the elections in 2020, they're the ones who've been telling a lie for a very, very long time. And I think people are going to start to realize, and people are going to understand that, yes, this was a very, very big lie. It's not just Russia collusion. It's not just the overthrow of the United States government. Yes, those are serious things. But the big lie is that everything that we have witnessed, everything that we experienced through our lives, everything that they told us was a gigantic lie to force us into a certain position where we give up our rights, go against the Constitution, and they would profit off of us every single day. And I think people, when they start to realize this and see this, this is going to make a lot of people very angry, very upset. And I do believe those people that have already learned this and really understand that this is a very entrenched enemy, it's deep and wide, I think it's a shocking thing because it's very, very hard to believe. And I think this is why Bongino came out with his message, letting everyone know that, yes, it's true. There is a deep state. It is a criminal syndicate. It's not what you believe. And they've been working against the American people from the very, very beginning. And I think people are going to be absolutely shocked when they start to see all this. We're going to be talking a lot more about this a little bit later. But first, let's talk about what is happening out in LA, because we've already shown, and Trump has already pointed the finger at Gavin Newsom. They've been laundering the money from the fires. And we even have Elizabeth Warren now trying to convince people that, listen, when you donate your money to the LA fires, 100% of your donation will go directly to these organizations. And this is what she put out. To help support the communities around LA being devastated by wildfires, can you split a donation between the Los Angeles Fire Department Foundation and United Way of Greater Los Angeles? 100% of your donation will go directly to these organizations. So yes, 100% of your donations will go to these organizations, but what happens after the organizations? It's a play on words. Data Republican breaks this all down and says the following. Our good Senator Warren has been exposed to using Act Blue as a vehicle which takes 3.95% and then disperses it to United Way of Greater Los Angeles and Los Angeles Fire Department Foundation. If you donated $100, who takes what cut? I'm going to attempt the difficult job of unwinding the charity rabbit hole to understand this. Let's start with the top level. Act Blue's 3.95% processing fee cut. They take $3.95 from the $100, leaving $96.05. That $96.05 is held up to 30 days, doesn't get to victims immediately, and then we assume $48.03 goes to the United Way of Greater Los Angeles, $48.03 goes to the Los Angeles Fire Department Foundation. Now, the charities are required by law to make their administrative expenditures public through Form 990. We don't know the actual recipients yet. Here's what it looks like for the United Way of Los Angeles. Out of the $49 million they received in that year, they dispersed only $31 million. The majority went into salaries. And I didn't even know charities had pensions. Overall, for this particular year, United Way kept 37% of donations for themselves. United Way has actual pensions. What? But I digress. I'm only posting what I find as I'm doing this in real time. We're trying to understand when or if the money translates to actual boots on the ground. Despite this, United Way of Greater Los Angeles earns a 97% on Charity Navigator. I'm also sensing that these charity rating aggregators are rackets in themselves. GuideStar collects demographic data. Who cares about that except leftists holding purse strings? ProPublica, Nonprofit Explorer, is not helpful either. It seems you have to go directly to the 990 to understand the actual expenditure ratios. Now, you could say that salaries and administrative expenditures are necessary to hire labor to build houses, hand out food, etc. But for United Way, this is not the case. They are strictly a middleman. This from the 990 for the most recent year for United Way of Greater Los Angeles. They received $44,808,000 and dispersed only $27,551,000 of it. They kept 38.51%. Our $48.03 has shrank to $29.53. And here's a sampling of the charities they give to. To give you an idea, I will pick just one most closely related to fire victims and continue from there. For those keeping track, we started with a $100 donation to Act Blue. Act Blue took $3.95 and gave $48.03 to United Way of Greater Los Angeles and $48.03 to Los Angeles Fire Department Foundation. United Way of Greater Los Angeles took $18.50 and gave $29.53. Our $100 has already shrank to $77.56, and the rabbit hole is far from complete. Now on to Los Angeles Fire Department Foundation. They too appear to be a pass-through entity. Just in case, I will check on how the $321,476 in salaries are spent to make sure I'm not overlooking genuine boots on the ground. Now I want to emphasize that this is an imperfect investigation. Maybe they are doing a lot more work than I'm aware of. I'm sure these fundraising efforts are not easy. I'm just giving my best estimate of where the money is going, and I welcome correction. Altogether, Los Angeles Fire Department Foundation received $2.6 million and passed on $1.7 million of that. They retained 34.8% in what appears to be largely administrative and fundraising overhead. To recap, we started with a $100 donation to Act Blue. Act Blue took $3.95 and gave $48.03 to United Way of Greater Los Angeles and $48.03 to Los Angeles Fire Department Foundation. United Way of Greater Los Angeles took $18.50 and gave $29.53 to miscellaneous charities. Los Angeles Fire Department Foundation took $16.71 and gave $31.32 to Los Angeles Fire Department Program, another charity. Our $100 has now shrank to $60.85, and the rabbit hole is still ongoing. When I look at the LAFD Foundation schedule, and try to trace the EIN they gave the grant to, it's themselves. I'm not sure how that even works. Maybe an accountant can explain that to me, but regardless, the LAFD Foundation rabbit hole ends in my own stack overflow. Back to United Way. Well, dig down to one of their biggest recipients, the LA Family Housing Corporation. Now, LA Family Housing Corporation does seem to have actual boots on the ground. That being said, this organization reported $74,661,000 in revenue and manages 288 units. The expenses for each unit looks a little high, but reasonable. Where is that big $62,306,000 item going? It seems they genuinely do a lot of work. Having no expertise in this field, I'm backing off at auditing their expenses. So there you have it. In the most optimistic scenario, only 6 out of the $10 are going to boots on the ground. There are still a lot of marks involved. So where is the other percentage going? Is it just going to salaries? Or is it actually going into people's pockets? That is very, very interesting. Now, the other thing that we could see is that we know that Gavin Newsom was running a very similar scam. Actually, the scam was a lot worse. He removed his entire company off of the website because they were receiving money and they were pretty much laundering the money. And what's very interesting is that Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt, he announced on social media that the Sooner State would soon be phasing out its state income tax. The only surprise is that one of the reddest states in the country had one to begin with. Stitt predicted Oklahoma would start rolling even more economically as a result. So Governor Stitt put this out and said Oklahoma's income tax is finally here. We're phasing it out. And once we get to zero, Oklahoma will be rolling like never before. Newsom decided to respond to this and said Oklahoma relies on California for critical federal tax dollars that fund education, healthcare, and apparently this new tax break. You're welcome, Governor Stitt. Governor Stitt responded to him and said, congrats to Governor Newsom for winning Oklahoma's Economic Developer of the Year. I love talking to Californians who have moved to Oklahoma for our great business-friendly culture. Come visit us sometime. Basically, people are now moving out of California and they're moving to many different states, which means people are moving out, businesses are moving out, and California is hurting. And if you notice, Newsom is trying to spin all this, especially when In-N-Out said we're moving our corporate offices to Tennessee instead of California because it's very difficult to live in California. We have all the taxes. You can't raise your kids there. And a lot of corporations are moving out of California. California is actually hurting. But again, Gavin Newsom, he's trying to play it off like this is normal. Think about it. They raised the minimum wage for the fast food worker to $20. And you know how many jobs they lost because of this? 18,000 jobs. A lot of the fast food companies, they shut down. And now California, they're struggling every single day. And it's getting worse and worse for them. And like we said from the very, very beginning, you look at the red states, you look at the blue states, you look at the red cities, you look at the blue cities. And as time goes on, you start to compare these, you're going to see a very, very big difference. You're going to see the blue cities, the blue states, they are struggling. They can't make ends meet. The cities are dirty. It's a disaster. You're going to start to look at the red states and the red cities, and you're going to start to realize that, look, a lot of manufacturers there, a lot of companies are there, people are moving there, neighborhoods look pretty darn good, and I think people are going to see a very, very big difference. Just like people saw a very, very big difference with the illegals. I mean, you saw a lot of the illegals in like New York City, Chicago, LA, San Francisco, and many other blue cities, and you saw that they basically used up all the resources, destroyed the cities. Crime was through the roof. And I know like they pretended that, oh, no, crime isn't going up. But of course, if you don't report stats of crimes, you could tell people that there's no crime. So if you leave it out, yeah, it looks pretty good. But again, we know that there's a huge amount of crime, and we know that they've been leaving the important information out of the crime stats. Because again, if they included it, everyone would realize, holy crap, look what's going on here. Crime is off the charts. Why is that? Oh, it's the illegals. That's why. So that's why they decided to leave these important stats off of the FBI records. Remember, the FBI does not work for the people. The FBI worked for the criminal syndicate. Now things are changing, of course, because now Trump has his people in place. But again, you could see with the illegals, they needed these illegals. You needed the gang members. You needed all these people for revenue. Remember, the cartels, the gang members, they brought in the drugs. They brought in the human traffickers, the child traffickers. This is revenue to the deep state players. Yes, they're their constituents. Yes, they need them to place their illegal vote, but they also need them for revenue. Why do you think they created all these ridiculous programs? Because they launder that money. That money is revenue. For a criminal syndicate to operate, you need revenue. And what do you think Trump is doing right now? He's shutting down all revenue avenues. He's shutting it down with the USAID. He's shutting it down eventually with the Federal Reserve. And you can see he's already creating the parallel economy. I do believe we're going to be going back to the Constitution. We'll probably go back to the gold standard, which is also going to include Bitcoin. So I do believe we're going back in that direction. And once you shut down the Federal Reserve, basically their revenue stream comes to a screeching halt. Once you deport all the cartel members, the terrorists, the gang members, that revenue stream comes to a screeching halt. Once you build the wall and you secure the border, that revenue stream comes to a screeching halt. So basically, without the revenue stream, what do you have? You have a criminal syndicate that can't operate. Trump is putting them in a very, very weak position. And what's very interesting, Trump, he's out in the Scotland, and now he's in the EU talking to Ursula von der Leyen. And basically, he just explained to her, listen, we shut down our borders. It was very easy. We secured them. We shut them down. Nobody's getting through. We have very little people that are getting through that we have to deport. We're just deporting the rest of the people that were brought into this country. You could do the same thing. If you don't, you're going to destroy your own country. And you could see that he was saying it, and she's like sitting there like, wait, what? Because you have to remember, this is the agenda of the deep state players. Blend the nations, create chaos, use these people for your agenda. And Trump and the United States is doing the opposite of what they're doing. And remember, by letting all these illegals in, they're keeping their revenue streams up in Europe. Remember, the deep state operates pretty much the same exact way here in the United States. And Trump shut it all down. So what are we going to see? We're going to see crime continually rise in Europe, and we're going to see crime decline here in the United States. Plus, here in the United States, the deep state players are going to have a major, major problem, because when they don't have the funding, how do they operate? They can't. And this is going to be a huge, huge problem. Just like it's a huge problem for the deep state players, because they believe that, oh, look, we got Trump. We got him with the Epstein thing. His name is included. Of course his name is included. He's the one who reported Epstein. So, yeah, they can try to push this as hard as they possibly can. But again, it's not going to work. And they think that they're dividing MAGA, that this is going to be Trump's downfall. Jason Cohen put this out and said, CNN's Harry Enton fact checks Jameel Hill when she claims Trump supporters are abandoning him over Epstein. Hill says the following: what's always interesting to me is like what it takes people to get off the Trump train. It's not xenophobia. It's not the racism. It's not the bigotry. It is this. It's the Epstein files. Well, Enton said, no, that's not true, because when it comes to his approval rating with Republicans, it's basically as solid as it ever was. If you look at the average polls, his approval rating with Republicans is still about 90%. So their entire push to try to get MAGA divided, the Republicans to abandon him, it all failed. Trump has actually turned the tables now, because now he is going to be producing the real Epstein list. He's already put out names. He already got people thinking. They're already interviewing Ghislaine Maxwell. What do you think she's doing? She's singing like a bird right now. Why do you think they're in a panic? Because they didn't want it to go down this way. They wanted their fake, manipulated information to be out in the public realm. So this way, everyone was distracted from the Russia hoax, and everyone was saying, oh my God, Trump's name is listed there? But their entire plan completely and utterly fell apart. Actually, Trump countered this right from the very, very beginning. And now they don't know what to do. All they have left now is to defend themselves. Remember, Trump now is the hunter. He's hunting them. And if you notice, who's on the defensive? Is it Trump? Is he defending himself? No, it's Brennan. It's Clapper. It's Obama. It's Hillary Clinton. It's all of these people. They're defending what they did. Just like with Trump now, with all these gotcha questions for the fake news. If you notice, they turn it around on the fake media, and they make the fake media defend their gotcha question, and it always fails. The same thing's happening right now. He's putting them all on the defensive. Go ahead, defend what you did. Now, he knows they're going to lie. He knows that they're going to make up stories. And he goes, keep going. Defend it. Lie. This is fantastic. Because you know what I'm going to do right now? Tulsi, bring out the next facts. Oh, wait, look. Everything you just said, debunked again. You lied to the American people. Over and over and over, this is going to happen. And in the end, we're going to see that they're going to trap themselves in their own lies. Remember, these people can't tell the truth. Let's talk about our health. The science is in. A clinical trial found that just 10 grams of collagen a day for 8 weeks led to a roughly 20% increase in skin hydration and a 17% improvement in elasticity, while also visibly reducing wrinkle depth. If you want to help improve your skin health, it's clear that collagen is essential. This is why I use the Secret Magical Powder, and I'm obsessed with the results. Multi-Collagen provides my skin with 5 types of premium collagen to help attack wrinkles from every angle. I'm seeing smoother skin, more elasticity, fewer lines, and more youthful glow. Plus, Multi-Collagen mixes smoothly with my morning coffee or tea. There's no clumping and zero added flavor. Do yourself a big favor and grab yourself a bag of ageless Multi-Collagen now for 51% off only at healthwithx22.com. Plus, by ordering today, you'll also receive free VIP life, health, and fitness coaching for life and a free ebook titled The 14 Foods for Amazing Skin, a 60-day satisfaction guarantee, and free shipping with your order. Once again, this offer is only available at healthwithx22.com. That's healthwithx22.com, or just click the link in the description. They're going to lie to cover up their lie, and they're going to lie again to cover up those lies. And in the end, the cover-up of lies always gets you. They cannot win this. They know it. They're struggling right now. Trump is hunting them all down. And it's not just Russian collusion. It's connected to everything. And in the end, this is all going to come down around them. We're going to be talking a lot more about this a little bit later. But first, let's talk about what the Department of Government Efficiency is going to do right now. Because now they have announced they have created a new AI re-regulation tool that could slash federal regulations by as much as 50%. So right now, DOGE AI deregulation decision tool is supposed to analyze roughly 200,000 federal regulations to determine which can be eliminated because they are no longer required by law. So you remember all the regulations that the deep state put into place, the central bankers put into place to drive businesses out of this country, to stop businesses from being created, to stop pretty much everything? All of this is going to be removed very, very quickly, which is actually going to bring businesses back here, which is going to allow businesses to start up here, which is actually going to light the fuse here in this country. And the parallel economy that Trump is creating right now with tariffs, the gold card, with AI technology, energy sales, it's going to take off like we've never seen before. And you could see that everything the deep state has put into place, Trump now is dismantling it all. And like we said before, with the illegals here in this country where Trump just shut it all down, supporting everyone, since Trump is out in the EU, we know that crime is off the charts there. If you look at Germany, actually, 40% of all violent crime suspects in Germany schools are foreigners, over 2 knife attacks per day. And this is very, very interesting because remember, they keep trying to tell us that, no, this is great, bringing all these illegals in here. This is fantastic. This is what it's all about. Not when you're bringing in criminals, not when you're bringing in people that hate you. And you can see the UK right now, they're now prepared to monitor their people. And if people are not going along with their agenda, they're going to be investigated. Disclosed TV put this out and said, UK Home Office to assemble an elite team of police officers to monitor social media for anti-migrant sentiment in a new investigations unit to flag early signs of potential civil unrest. The National Internet Intelligence Investigations Team will aim to maximize social media intelligence. So the unit's emphasis on anti-migrant sentiment and signs of disorder implies monitoring for hateful or inflammatory content that could incite violence or unrest. So they're going to be looking for hate speech. You think they're going to be looking for hate speech with all the illegals that are brought into this country? Or are they going to be looking for hate speech against those illegals that are brought into their country? And basically, that is what they're going to be looking for. And they're going to be shutting down people's accounts, and they're going to be investigating those people. Critics, including free speech advocates like Big Brother Watch and politicians like Nigel Farage and Chris Phillip, have raised alarms that the unit could overreach into policing lawful opinions or create a surveillance state, potentially chilling free speech on topics like migration. Yeah, that's what they're going to do. This is exactly what they're going to do. So basically what they're going to do is they're going to police the citizens of the country to make sure that you're not out of line. They're already doing it, but now they're taking it to the next step. And basically, if you say anything about the illegals, if you say anything about immigration, it's almost like the same thing that happened with COVID and the United States elections. It's the same exact pattern over and over and over. And it's almost like the pattern of the deep state wars, because it's very interesting that Trump is in office. He's trying to negotiate peace around the world. And we had like an incident start up with Pakistan and India. Now we have an incident starting up with Cambodia and Thailand. It seems like the deep state players are trying to push something. They're trying to push a war, but Trump keeps putting out the fuse that they light. And this looks like this is another instance. Trump, he put this out on Truth. He said, I just spoken to the acting prime minister of Thailand, and it was a very good conversation. Thailand, like Cambodia, wants to have an immediate ceasefire and peace. And I am now going to relay that message back to Prime Minister of Cambodia. After speaking to both parties, ceasefire, peace, and prosperity seem to be a natural. We will soon see. Then he said, I just had a very good call with Prime Minister of Cambodia and informed him of my discussion with Thailand and its acting prime minister. Both parties are looking for immediate ceasefire and peace. They're also looking to get back to the trading table with the United States, which we think is inappropriate to do until such time as the fighting stops. They have agreed to immediately meet and quickly work out a ceasefire and ultimately peace. It was an honor to deal with both countries. They have a long and storied history and culture. They'll hopefully get along for many years to come when all is done and peace is at hand. I look forward to concluding our trading agreement with both. And it looks like the deep state players, they're just trying to push something. And each time they do, it completely and utterly fails. And right now, Thailand says they're open to a dialogue with Cambodia to end the entire conflict. And as Trump stops this war, this is going to be the fourth war he'll be ending in 6 months. Think about that for a second. And think about what he's doing with Ukraine and Russia. Remember, Trump stopped the funding to Ukraine. Remember, the criminal syndicate only can function if they're getting money. So he stopped the flow of weapons. He stopped the funding. He made NATO and EU pay for the weapons. And if they want to give it to Ukraine, that's fine. If they want to sell to Ukraine, that's fine too. But the United States is out of it. The United States is no longer giving aid to Ukraine. And it was just a matter of time before Ukraine says, ooh, what's going on? We're being choked out here. Hey, EU, do you have any money? Can you give us any aid? What do you think EU is going to do? Well, they really don't like giving aid. They like giving loans. But again, if the money's not coming from the U.S., do you think the EU is going to say, yeah, let's do it? No, because all the nations are not going to agree. And it looks like the EU right now has cut aid to Ukraine over corruption concerns. You think this is just a coincidence? No, Trump gave Putin 50 days because he knew it wouldn't take that long because the EU doesn't want to fund this war. They have to buy their weapons and they don't want to give aid to Ukraine. And they know that Ukraine's not going to pay back the loan that they give them. They're never going to be able to collect. So the European Union has stopped all aid to Ukraine. And basically, what do you think is going to happen next? Because the EU and the deep state players, yeah, they're going to try to push Zelensky. But Zelensky goes, what do you want me to do? I got no money. I got no weapons. What are we going to do? We can't attack Russia. We have defensive weapons if they attack us, but we have nothing. This war can't go on. Give me something. And they're not going to. And this is how Trump is shutting it all down. I do believe in the next couple of weeks, I wouldn't be surprised if Zelensky and Russia say, all right, peace. Peace it is. Trump's going to announce we got a peace deal. Actually, they're already discussing it in Turkey while all this is happening. Think about that for a second. And the EU, right now, as of right now, has no plans to loan Ukraine any money. But let's see how this all plays out. This is going to be very, very interesting. Just like it's very, very interesting that when we had the plandemic, COVID wasn't the pandemic. That was the plandemic. And the real pandemic was the vaccines, the mRNA vaccines. The vaccines basically included COVID, and it actually created illnesses. And by doing this, they wanted people to get more and more boosters, which was going to make you sicker and sicker and sicker, and it was going to keep COVID going throughout the entire world. And basically, the reason why this failed is because they never expected people to shy away from the vaccines. They thought everyone would get them because this is a pandemic. Why wouldn't you get one? And millions of people said, I don't want it. And then you had two groups. You had the vaccinated and you had the unvaccinated. The vaccinated kept getting COVID. The unvaccinated didn't. Kind of odd. And when you start to look back in time now, you can see that the vaccines were the real pandemic. Ethical Skeptic put this out and says, lives saved from the mRNA vaccine on the left, 38,802. Was it really the vaccines? Or did people's immune system actually save them? Because we know the vaccines don't stop transmission and they don't cure you of COVID. So think about that for a second. Lives lost from mRNA vaccine. It's EUA, lockdown open border policy on the right. 1.4 million man-made excess deaths so far, still rising. 2,200 to 4,800 per week. 1 to 38 life benefit to loss ratio. 1 to 250 in life years. The vaccine was a pandemic. And these 38,000 people that were saved from the mRNA, well, now we have proof that they were not saved from that. I do believe it was probably their own immune systems that actually saved them. Because we know that COVID vaccine does absolutely nothing. It doesn't help you whatsoever. It makes it worse and worse and worse. So now we know where the true pandemic really was. It was the vaccine. And with the two study groups, it is now proven with peer-reviewed documentation. Now, the other thing that we could see is that we could see that Randy Weingarten, she is trying to continually push the agenda of the deep state players. And they're trying to brainwash our children. And this is why Trump decided to dismantle the Department of Education. This is why Trump decided to give the power of the states, cities, towns, gave them the power to decide what they're going to teach their children. So this way, organizations like the World Economic Forum, the Teachers Union, and many other organizations, they won't have the ability to basically structure what they need to learn. Data Republican put this out. She's pointing to Corey DeAngelis, and it says Randy Weingarten just announced a partnership with the World Economic Forum to create a curriculum. Data Republican responded and said, oh, come on. I thought WEF slunk into shadows after Build Back Better failed and after all those sexual harassment allegations. Randy Weingarten, the face of No Kings Movement, NDI director, AFT president, former DNC member, is one of the top globalists in the world. Why is she allowed to dictate our federal education curriculum? Well, she really isn't. And with the education shifting back to the states, Weingarten's say in curriculum would be limited but not eliminated just yet. The AFT has strong state and local chapters that can still lobby governors, school boards, and legislators on standards, funding, and teacher contracts. For instance, they could push for or against adopting elements of that World Economic Forum partnered curriculum at the state level. Without a robust federal Department of Education, her national platform shrinks, and conservative states could more easily reject union-backed ideas in favor of local control or alternatives like school choice. This aligns with Trump's project framework, which emphasizes reducing federal overreach in education to empower parents and states. If the goal is minimizing her influence, the Department of Education's dismantling achieves that federally, though unions remain a force in blue states. And yes, you're going to see a lot of the blue states probably take on this curriculum. And you know what you're going to see over time? You're going to see the difference between red states and blue states. Unless Trump comes up with an executive order saying, no, the states have the ability, but I don't think he might do that, he might not. But again, if the blue states decide to go along with this World Economic Forum agenda, what you're going to see is you're going to see the blue states, their scores are going to go down. They're going to be brainwashed. The states are going to be a disaster, and you're going to see the red states thrive. You're going to see the students thrive. You're going to see they're going to become upstanding citizens. They're going to be smart. They're going to be able to think logically. You're going to see a very, very big difference. And I do believe that most of the parents, and probably in a lot of the blue states, they're going to start to realize, well, wait a minute, why in the world are our scores down? Why in the world aren't our children learning? And I don't think it's going to take that long for the people of those states to start to realize there's something wrong, because when we look at other states that haven't gone along with the World Economic Forum curriculum, we see that something's very, very different in those states. And I don't think it's going to take that long for the change to happen. And eventually what's going to happen is this whole teacher union, all these things, they're going to be completely and utterly pushed out in the end, especially when Trump says, all right, you're going to follow the World Economic Forum, no federal funding for you. That's not part of the U.S. That's not part of the agenda. And that will shut it down very, very quickly. Now, the other thing that we can see, and this is very, very interesting. Remember the Obama iPhone or the Obama phone? Well, it seems that the CEO was running a scam with the Obama phone. And the CEO is fined $128 million and is now sentenced to 5 years imprisonment for defrauding U.S. government and money laundering. Hey, anyone shocked about this? So Issa Assad, 51, of Southwest Ranches, Florida, and his company Q-Link Wireless were sentenced for a years-long scheme to steal over $100 million from the Obama phone program dating back to 2012. Assad was also sentenced over charges of money laundering. So between 2013 and 2019, Q-Link Wireless made $618 million from the Lifeline program. Approximately 21% of Q-Link's payments during this period were due to its fraudulent scheme. So I wonder if a lot of this money was laundered to other places. Remember, it seems that all these people are always connected to the criminal syndicate, and they're always protected until they're not protected anymore. And then all of a sudden you find out, wait a minute, they've been running a scam this entire time and the FBI didn't know, Obama didn't know, nobody knew. I mean, come on. I think we all understand what's going on right now. Just like we all understand that the deep state players, they're making moves to try to stop Trump's 135 nominee confirmations. It's a backlog right now. And once again, we discussed this yesterday that either the Senate stays in session and they vote on every confirmation, or they take a recess, a full recess. But again, you know the deep state players, what they're going to try to do. They're going to try to bring the Senate back into session every single time. But I do believe Trump, he has a plan for both. He's hoping that they just do it the right way and they're in session, they confirm everyone, and this way it's done. But again, if they try to make their move in trying to stop all of this with their, gaveling in every 3 days to keep the Senate in session so Trump can't actually use his recess appointments, I do believe Trump is going to take this to the next step. But Trump, he did put this out and he said, Republicans must play to win, clear the 135, so badly needed, and they are needed. His people need to be in place. Because think about what we're going up against right now. We're going up against the deep state players. Trump needs all the strength. He needs all the leverage. Does he have a lot of leverage right now? Yes. Is he strong in his position? Yes. But again, to bring down the deep state players, you need all his nominees confirmed. You need the House. You need the Senate. I don't mean the majority. I mean control. So this way, we can have accountability. And what's very interesting is when we start to look at the entire Russian collusion hoax, we could see the deep state players, they're trying to cover for themselves, and they're just continually lying over and over and over. And actually, they're walking down the path that Trump and the Patriots have set right now, because once again, as they lie, Trump just brings out more devastating information that actually catches them in the lie, and then they have to lie again. Because in the end, what this is all about, this is about education of the American people. And what better way to educate the American people is to show that these people are liars. And it's very easy to do because they can never tell the truth. They'll just continually lie after lie after lie. That's what they do. Paul Sperry put this out and said, sources tell me in 2018, former Trump National Security Advisor John Bolton received a classified memo summarizing the explosive report exposing how Brennan cooked up Putin-Trump intel, but Bolton stuck it in an NSC safe and never briefed Trump, believing the Brennan intel. Sean Davis responded and said, that would explain why Bolton is showing up on left-wing media falsely claiming all kinds of nonsense about the Russian collusion hoax. Yeah, because he's lying to cover up what he did. This is what happens. And you can see the Obama team, they're trying to create a narrative to explain what they're seeing. And they're trying to basically convince the Republicans to help. Aides who work for Obama are desperate to shut down the burgeoning scandal surrounding their boss and have devised a laughable plan to prevent it from reaching the public further. NBC News reveals that Team Obama is desperate to find a way to ensure the scandal eventually dissipates and put a stop to more unchecked allegations. What is their brilliant scheme? It turns out they plan to reach so-called Republicans via newspaper editorial boards and via members of Congress. The battle now is to play this even to make sure that thoughts don't start to creep into more mainstream audiences. I mean, is this going to work? Really? They're going to go to editorial boards? They're going to try to get the Republicans? So basically, do you really think the Republicans are going to read the Wall Street Journal or the Washington Post and say, oh, yeah, look, Obama's innocent? This is not going to work. This is the worst scheme I have ever heard of. Again, they believe that this is 2008, 2009, 2010. It isn't. Things have changed, and they're not getting it. But Tulsi Gabbard calls out Obama. Patriots Are Control put this out and said, Tulsi Gabbard calls out the mainstream media for their complicity in the Russiagate hoax. They were fed early lines from this manufactured false intelligence assessment that President Obama ordered, that John Brennan and James Clapper created without any vetting, without any actual journalistic integrity of looking at what they're being fed. They received it, and they printed it almost immediately. She says the mainstream media's silence on the new document's release has been deafening because the fake news, they knowingly went along with the deep state players. They were part of the criminal syndicate. They were the bullhorn for the criminal syndicate. And Trump now is calling them all on it. Trump, he put this out on Truth. He said the following. Wow, Comcast NBC is down in viewership almost 28% this year. Their programming is terrible. Their management even worse. They are an arm of the Democratic Party and should be held accountable for that. Likewise, fake news, ABC, MAGA. Then he changed directions and started to go after Kamala Harris and all those individuals that took payments but never performed, which basically is against the law. Trump, he put this out and said, I'm looking at the large amount of money owed by the Democrats after the presidential election and the fact that they admit to paying, probably illegally, $11 million to singer Beyonce for an endorsement she never sang, not one note, and left the stage to a booing and angry audience. $3 million for expenses to Oprah, $600,000 to very low-rated TV anchor Al Sharpton, a total lightweight, and others to be named for doing absolutely nothing. These ridiculous fees were incorrectly stated in the books and records. You're not allowed to pay for an endorsement. It is totally illegal to do so. Can you imagine what would happen if politicians started paying for people to endorse them? All hell would break out. Kamala and all those that received endorsement money broke the law. They should be prosecuted. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Basically, letting the public know that everything that they did in the 2024 election was against the law. They were trying to rig the election once again, and it failed. And he caught them all again, over and over and over. Then he said networks aren't allowed to be political pawns for the Democratic Party. It has become so outrageous that, in my opinion, their license could and should be revoked. MAGA. And they should be revoked. All these people should be investigated. Kamala should be investigated. Everything should be investigated. And I do believe this is what Kash Patel, Bongino, Pam Bondi, this is what I do believe they're all working on. When they're looking at the different elections, 2020, 2024, this is all going to feed into it. They knowingly did this. And yes, they're going to be brought up on charges. It's going to be the biggest sting operation the world has ever seen. Ezra Cohen responded to all this and said, the Trump IC team, led by Ratcliffe and Gabbard, is wisely breaking down the retired IC expert. If I told you, I'd have to kill you racket whereby these former officials can go into the public sphere and spread falsehoods without having to show their math. This ploy is extremely damaging to the health of our civil society. By declassifying and publicly releasing records, the permanent security apparatus can hide behind the classification excuse as they attempt to manipulate the public narrative. And John Ratcliffe, and Praying Mac put this out, said that in the coming weeks, we will declassify the classified annex in the Durham report, which will reveal more details of Russia hoax. He also confirmed that the Spygate conspiracy is ongoing and the statute of limitations has not yet run because the conspiracy never ended. And here's Durham. He's back. His report now is coming out. Everyone thought it was a waste. Oh my God, he didn't get the people. It wasn't the time. It was just to put things on record. That is it. And what's very interesting is that Bongino, since he's been the deputy director of the FBI, has now realized how bad the entire government really is. And he's starting to see what the entrenched enemy really is. And he's trying to let the people know that it's a lot worse than you can ever imagine. This is what he put out on X. During my tenure here at the deputy director of the FBI, I have repeatedly relayed to you that things are happening that might not be immediately visible, but they are happening. The director and I are committed to stamping out public corruption and the political weaponization of both law enforcement and intelligence operations. It is a priority for us. But what I've learned in the course of our properly predicated and necessary investigations into these aforementioned matters has shocked me down to my core. We cannot run a republic like this. I'll never be the same after learning what I've learned. We're going to conduct these righteous and proper investigations by the book and in accordance with the law. We're going to get the answers we all deserve. As with any investigation, I cannot predict where it will land, but I can promise you an honest and dignified effort at truth. Not my truth or your truth, but the truth. God bless America and all those who defend her. Respectfully, Dan. So, from the outside, in the view of ordinary Americans, the FBI is an agency who protects the country from threats. This is incorrect. The way to look at it is that the FBI only protects the threats to D.C., not to the nation. The conservative treehouse put this out. What the FSB is to Moscow, the FBI is to Washington, D.C. The FBI doesn't miss threats from terrorism. The FBI is not looking for threats from terrorism. The FBI is only radar sweeping for threats to D.C. and or participants within Washington, D.C. that alert the FBI to their concerns. Remember, 40 FBI agents worked for Robert Mueller on a non-existent premise of Trump-Russia collusion. Every participant in the process knew that Mueller probe was purely to protect D.C., and there was no evidence to support the Trump-Russia claims. Those investigators went along with it for 2 years. And don't forget Operation Arctic Frost, the documented FBI operation to target candidate Donald Trump in 2022. This mission objective is why the FBI targeted mechanism seems to focus on political groups and individuals who are whistleblowers or truth-tellers against the D.C. operation. If you have information against the interest of Washington, D.C., the FBI will target you because protecting D.C. is their primary mission. That reality is what drives the outcomes we witnessed on an ongoing basis. The FBI also operates an agency to make money by opening investigations against Wall Street companies on behalf of aligned short sellers. There is an entire shadow agency within the FBI dedicated to investigating companies entirely to drive down the stock value because the publicly traded companies must announce the investigation regardless of merit therein. The FBI operatives make money via kickbacks from the vulture capitalists, short sellers, who give them the targeting tips. This is a lucrative operation with multi-million each time. Crooked DEA agents blackmail drug dealers and take bribe money from cartels. Crooked FBI agents do the same with white-collar criminals and Wall Street vultures. Antifa, you say? How can a group within America openly threaten police, use violence against police, throw Molotov cocktails, bricks, and explosive fireworks at police, use batons, shields, and bait, and physical violence against police and federal law enforcement, destroy vehicles, set cars on fire, destroy property, trash and block the streets and create chaos, completely without being stopped. It doesn't matter where it's happening. That's irrelevant. Think plainly and simply. How does any individual or group get to do this without being arrested? The FBI supports the group. That's how. They support all of it. If you notice, going back in time, the assassinations, the bombings, everything that we've seen, the FBI was always aware of these people. They were never stopped because they were coordinating with these people. The FBI is not a law enforcement or an investigative division of the U.S. Department of Justice. The FBI is a political weapon of a larger institution that is now focused almost entirely toward supporting a radical communist agenda to destroy civil society in the United States. And it's not just the FBI, remember. It's the other agencies. They all coordinate. It's part of the criminal syndicate. So what the Federal Security Services, FSB, is to the internal security of the Russia state, so too is the FBI in performing the same function for the U.S. federal government. The FBI is a U.S. version of the Russian state police, and the FBI is deployed almost exclusively to attack domestic enemies of those who control government, while they protect the interest of the U.S. fourth branch of government. This is the clear and accurate domestic prism to contextualize their perceived mission. Domestic violent extremists pose the greatest threat to their objective. Put it another way, we the people who fight against government abuse and usurpation are the FBI's actual and literal enemy. Yes, Deputy Director Dan Bongino seems to understand that now. And when you look at the assassination attempt on Trump, it was an operation by who? The FBI in coordination with other agencies. They were protecting the criminal syndicate. Remember, this is why Biden and Obama and the rest, Hillary Clinton, always come out and say, MAGA extremists, domestic terrorists. Because once again, we are now fighting the enemy. The enemy is entrenched in D.C. And I do believe this is what Bongino has just found out with everything that he's looking into. And once you start to understand this, you understand everything else, and it becomes very, very clear. Let me just go back to post 586, this is January 22nd, 2018, and let me read the whole thing. What should happen if texts originating from the FBI agent to several internals discuss the assassination possibility of the POTUS or member of his family? What if the text suggests foreign allies were involved? Forget the Russia setup, one of 22. This is only the beginning. Be careful what you wish for as the world turns. Could messages such as those be publicly disclosed? What happens to the FBI? What happens to the DOJ? What happens to special counsel? What happens in general? Every FBI DOJ previous case could then be challenged. Lawless. Think logically. We haven't started the drops, re human trafficking sacrifices, yet worst. Those good who know cannot sleep. Those good who know cannot find peace. Those good who know will not rest until those responsible are held accountable. Nobody can possibly imagine the pure evil and corruption out there. Those you trust are the most guilty of sin. Who are we taught to trust? If you're religious, pray. 60% must remain private, at least for humanity. These people should be hanging. And I do believe this is what Bongino just found out. And yes, we might have some ideas. We can imagine what's going on. But I do believe once he saw the real information, your belief system, everything that you believed in, is turned upside down. And think about it. He's been reporting on this for quite a while with his show. But now that he's seen the actual proof and the truth and the documents, I think reality all of a sudden hits you right in the face. And even though you talked about it, I think actually seeing it and seeing that, whoa, this is much worse than I even thought. This is like, wow, this is like out of a movie. Can these people be this evil? And I think this is what he has seen. And I think what's going to happen is people will see part of it. I don't know if we'll see all of it, but I think it will be enough so people understand. And I think this is the beginning of the end of the deep state players, because once the people know, once the people are awake, it's game over for all of them. And you can see this is what Trump is doing right now. He's building the narrative, he's showing the people, and he's outing their entire system. Why? Because the Patriots are in control. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.